Good night, ladies and gentlemen. So far, uh, just looking at the details that was released, especially today, just to go over the information that they've released so far, I decided to compile all of them into one big video instead of to do them each time they came out. Of course, I'm getting a bit late behind for the videos, but I am moving forward. I'm supposed to release some for the Caribbean life, especially coming up in the near future. Now, everyone should be aware that the Beyound series of updates are coming out, and of course the beta is set to start on Thursday. There will be a live stream from then on as I get a bit more technical with the scheduling. There's been a lot of information that's been passed out, especially the new ship that's coming out, the core improvements, wing missions, revised trade data, planetary visual effects, and of course Galnet audio. And some of that was shown off this afternoon. But just before we get into the live stream that was published today, they spoke about crime and punishment in part 1, and you can see that in the link below this video. They were fooling around with the alpha build, and of course making sure that the game doesn't crash most of the time. Bounties and notorities, the interstellar bounties, the ATRs, of course, detonation sentries and respawning, miscellaneous changes, of course the wing missions is one thing that I'm looking forward to. Anything to take part, of course, in a multiplayer game with other people. Now, for part 2, they recap the planetary improvements, especially the planets that will show their content. So rocky would look a different way from high metal, metal rich would look a different way from rocky, of course. They went over the chieftain, the tech broker, the trade data changes, and of course the megaship interactions. Now, my biggest question with that is there a legal way to interact with the megaship without becoming a pirate? Because typically I stay on the good side of the law. So moving on to the information that was dropped tonight, the engineer improvement, the materials trader, the Galnet audio, and the Kavas customization. Now, when I heard the voices within the Kavas, of course, you just had to be there. If you haven't watched it, again, the links are in the description. Just shoot down there and go take a look at it. Now, first of all, the Beyond is what I'm looking forward to. The beta that's coming up on Thursday. I'm going to be live streaming, so there will be some spoilers for those who don't want to see it, right? And of course, I am looking forward to the core improvements and the wing missions mostly. Now, if there's anyone here that's new, subscribe, drop a like down below. You can see the other channels that I'm currently on: Twitch, Patreon, and I have the Facebook page that's going up. So let's get into the details. First of all, crime and punishment is a very hot topic. Of course, everyone will be a little bit against or for when it comes to bounties and committing crime in the game. It has been a very hot topic all around. So based on what they're saying, the crimes will be attached to the ship, and this is quite interesting as they're hashtagging across the internet. Hot build that's going on. Of course, with this, you can pretty much switch to a different ship and you will become clean in a sense. But of course, before you can fly the next ship, you have to pay off your fines or your bounties in that system that you are wanted for. Now, the reason that they're making these changes, attaching crime to the ship allows more options for criminals, right? They can swap and store hot ships to avoid being wanted, but at a reasonable cost, of course. You're not going to find anything too unreasonable, but crime and punishment needed an upgrade for a very long time now. Now, it also neatly closed off any loopholes for commanders would switch to cheaper ships and avoid fines, of course, detecting themselves or being possibly destroyed. It makes it a lot harder for you to avoid crime per se. Now, this allows flexibility for us to safely increase consequences for criminals. If the criminal continues to use a hot ship, they may have to travel further to find post services they need. Now, for criminals, this is already a known fact. You can't be in the system that you're wanted. If you're wanted below 1,000 so far, you can just jump out, jump back in. It switches to a fine, and you pay your fine. I have been wanted. It's not a good thing, flying around being interdicted every second, but gladly I just obey as much as the law as I can, especially with the planetary scans. They want you to scan someone's place that is, of course, hot. So you got wanted, jump out, jump in after 8 minutes, below 1,000, and then you pay off your fine. You're clean with the faction. Now that won't be as easy for them. Of course, the ship, once landed, you'll now be able to connect to the station with an alias, right? So as long as you land before they scan you, you'll be safe, right? So I guess this is more for use for silent running if you haven't been using it before. Now, jumping into the bounties, fines are no longer migrate to bounties. Bounties are no longer dormant, right? Murder or being revamped into the following: a faction of the perpetrators rebuy cost, of course, and a fraction of the victims rebuy cost. Commanders will have notoriety levels. It will increase each time a murder is committed, and increase the rebuy cost fraction for both pre and victim. The victim's rebuy cost is reduced, but the amount by this amount, it decreases when the commander is brought to justice, of course, more than likely being blown up. Now, we are introducing power bounties, which is a separate entity from bounties, from the live stream was saying. Power bounties replace normal crimes for power activities. Power bounties can only be seen and claimed by appropriate pledged ships. Power bounties do not follow the crime flow. Again, why they're making these changes: a reduce in crime states help increase legibility. We felt that the bounties for murder in general were a little too low. We feel it's fair that perpetrators should shoulder some of the victim's debt. Notorities ensure that some of the risk of crime cannot simply be shaken off by changing one ship. Power bounties allow us to have consensual PvP without unduly punishing those individuals. Now, interstellar bounties has taken a look, a little bit of a change as well. Superpowers will issue interstellar bounties against commanders that continually transgress against factions allied with them. And interstellar bounties is issued once the credit value of all appropriate bounties and fines breach a certain threshold, right? So there's a cap towards that before you can receive interstellar bounty. Interstellar bounties are valid in every jurisdiction controlled by the faction aligned with the superpower. Now, why they're making these changes: we used to have interstellar bounties in early Elite Dangerous and believe they add another level of consequence for serial crime and help democrate the superpower areas of influence, right? So, of course, crime is getting a little bit harder in Elite Dangerous, but of course, the Dangerous title is there to match it. So, if you're on the Dangerous side or if you're on the Elite side, either way, you will have um, uh, a look at your being punished for the crime that you commit, but the victim of that crime is not necessarily being punished too much. And again, there will be controversy to persons saying, look, we want it to be harsh on both sides, or a little bit harder on some sides, a little bit easy on the other. So let us know in the comment section what your ideas are, and of course when the focus feedbacks forums are up and live during the beta and after the beta, the information that they want to change and implement will solely rely on us coming up with it. Now the ATRs, when crime is repeatedly committed in succession, they will eventually draw attention of special authority ships, the advanced tactical response. Now this is something that I'm looking forward to, especially as they're saying that they're going to be a little bit stronger. For those people who are engineered, they would definitely be a challenge for them. Now I've just started to take up engineering, and I'm moving forward with a very slow pace to get a full understanding of exactly what I'm doing and making sure that I don't screw it up in the long run. Of course, there's been a lot of different forums out there that have discussed majority of the information of how to start, which ones to unlock first, and moving through the progression of unlocking each engineer. And it's been a challenge, I must say, but with those that are already engineered or feel that they're maximum, you're getting PvP entities that are now, PvE entities that are targeted and geared towards being harder, and that's quite interesting. Now those powerful enough to pose a real threat to any ships commanders have, and they will not insta-kill. Of course, it makes sense. If these were insta-kill, it would break the game, right? Those are game-breaking changes. Now, why they're including these ATRs to prevent commanders from operating above the law and act as a soft cap on criminal activities. Now, this is a very interesting change because we do have some that are manipulating the system, especially when it comes to killing a lot of clean ships in the area. They get their bounties, they get their ratios higher, going after authority ships. But now to know that there is a stronger authority ship and not just being engineered, blowing up everybody and just being bored at it. So you're going to get that challenge once the ATRs are live, and I'm going to be testing it out in the beta as well. Now, when you commit a crime, of course, after detonation, there is a respawn, and once you respawn, you will change locations. Of course, you'll be going to a detention center based on the information that Dave said. So when a criminal is detected and destroyed, they respawn at the nearest detention center. Now, they will be littered about, from quoting from what they've said. At a detention center, a commander must pay for the crimes they have committed in the jurisdiction where they were destroyed. Leaving a detention center, a commander is safe from other commanders until engage their FSD. And this is pretty good for those griefers that would hang around those areas, you know. Now, these are superpowers detention centers for commanders with interstellar bounties, which is also an interesting fact. You don't have to go at your furthest respawn. You get blown up right outside the bubble, but you're coming from Colonia. Of course, that would be a pretty long drive back. Now, Ships that are destroyed unrelated to crimes will respawn at the nearest safe starport in the system if possible, reverting to the last starport docked if not. So it's good to see that the victims of crime will not necessarily need to be respawned at a different area, but closest relative location within the system that you last dock at. Now, why they're making these changes to allow us to guarantee that when authorities or bounties hunters are successful, the criminal must pay for the crime. The concept of respawning at ports within the system is less punishing and more contextual sounding, right? Now, wing mission is a big part of the live stream that they spoke about, and this is one of the keynotes that I'm focusing on. I do have a lot of friends, especially with the Mobius private servers that we play on. I've made quite a bit of impression on those commanders that are there, so they would love to come around and fly, which I would invite you to do the same. If you are within a private server, it's fine. If not, you can add my name. You can see it there in the notes below. Now, with the wing mission, the sole commander is the person who accepts the mission, right? So this is coming in the first chapter, so this is one of the things that I'll be testing out within the live streaming that we'll be doing once the beta lands. Now, they will be focusing on these, but definitely we will have to be there to test them out to make sure that they're all working properly. So this mission requires players and his wingmates to deliver large quantities of cargo. They are saying that there will be different wing missions coming as well, just focusing on cargo delivery currently. In order to accept these missions, one member of the wing needs to accept it and select a wingmate, which are donated by a special icon. Once accepted, the player who took the mission can share it by clicking the share button on the mission entry located in transaction panel. Doing so will send the wingmates an inbox and adds the mission to their own transaction panel. The wingmates can choose then to either accept or decline the mission from the transaction panel. Important to note, each player can only share one mission at a time currently. This means that this means that with a maximum of 4 players, you can have up to a maximum of 4 active wing missions at any given time. So this gives a very diverse choice. So if they do implement something within the beta that we're able to test that does not deal with cargo delivery, we could try and make sure that this sharing is going as smoothly as possible. Now, in the case that the wing delivery mission, players will be able to charge with transporting large quantities of goods from point A to point B. Previously, when taking delivery missions, all cargo would be placed in a player's hold for them to deliver. However, as we are now dealing with larger quantities and mission involving multiple players, this add a new development challenge. We need to add a way for players to collect and deliver parts of the total required cargo. Now, the mission is completed when all the cargo has been delivered, and each member of the wing is able to collect their own rewards. All players who are members of the wing at the point that the mission is completed are eligible for the mission rewards. Every member of the wing will receive the same reward according to the choices for completing. Wing missions are also using the new mission reward system, which provides players 3 different choices, roughly equivalent reward packages allow each player to choose which set of rewards they wish to claim. One of these reward packages will always be credit-based rewards. So that is a definite look into a huge change that is coming towards a crime, punishment, and the wing missions. Now, if you haven't seen this information, you could go ahead and follow this again, live streaming. So from the description below this, you'll see all of this in part 1 of the Beyond focus. Now, part 2 did a bit more recapping, so I'll be just touching on the topics and what I've learned from it. Right, so we have the planetary improvements, that there will be differences between each planet, which is quite informative for those who are going out for exploration, or even if you're looking for surface mining. Now, being that this is quite a lot of information to touch at, they are putting them on the forums for part 1, part 2, and part 3. Now, apart from the planetary improvements, they announced the new ships, which is the Chieftain. I'm looking forward to the next section of Beyond, which they're looking forward to putting out the player-based carrier ships. And there's been a lot of speculation as to the size of these ships, how many people they'll be holding. There's a lot of information. And I think as one of the speculation around that time is when they're include where we can store parts of our materials from our ships. Now, they've released some more information for the third part of it, and we'll get to that in just a sec. Now, the technology broker is one of the interesting parts. They are dealing with new and rare technologies and items. So just by the first sentence there, new, we do have new items coming in. Of course, they're not going to tell us each and every one of them. From the information we saw this afternoon as well, that there is going to be a chart where you can tell if you have or have not discovered a certain part of an item that you are either mining or taking into your ship. So of course you see that new notification that pops up on the top right hand corner, new discovery. There is going to be a point where you can select it before you take it into your ship to tell that you have not discovered it as yet. So this is going to be very interesting when the technology broker comes out. Now, trade data changes, and this is for a lot of those who start out new in Elite Dangerous. Your first mission is generally bringing one information to another area, right? So trading is a core part of the game, and again, there is a lot of information to go through, so I would suggest you just head on over and watching their video. Now, the megaship interactions, this is the key topic that I would like to touch on, because from what we saw, most of this is for pirating. And if you're going to pirate megaships, the ship is going to start shooting at you, which is quite interesting because now they have their own defense mechanism, which they didn't before. Now, I want to find out, especially test, if there is a way for us to do this legally, right? I will not spoil anything for those who have not watched it as yet. So again, I suggest for you to just head on over to the video, skip to the later parts of it, and you'll see the megaship interactions. And it was pretty interesting to know that they were going around messing around with the ATRs that were coming around, and they did some insta kills, of course, game breaking, just to speed up the interactions. But there's a part of it that they skipped it. We didn't get to see exactly how fast they were taken down by the ATRs. But now with this, authority ships were there. There were other ships flying around, They're saying that megaships will have their own cargo hold where you're able to interact with, hack into, or damage and remove this cargo for yourself. But of course, limpet controllers will be definitely interesting how they would react under these pressures. So again, with the wing missions, you'll be looking at bringing a bunch of people there, one person to distract the authority ships while somebody picks up the cargo, and the others will be doing other things like interacting with it. And there is a new in-game, how would you say this now? It looks like a different interface when you scan these ships, right? There is like a pulse going out from your ship covering it, and then it comes back in, and it brings the information to your ship. So there's a lot of UI changes that is going to be interesting to test out as well. Now, just heading into the content that was revealed tonight. It's a bit shorter, so we could go through a bit of the topics, right? The engineering improvements is definitely something that everybody is looking at, and of course controversy just with the crime and punishment. They're saying moving from the system we currently have and reducing, or it's a very tricky word that they use. Reducing or removing completely the whole RNG base that you would have. Now, I would really hope that it doesn't remove too much of the randomness, because then if you do remove it completely, you'll just be able to just engineer your ship all the way to the top tiers. But then again, if you remove it, if you don't remove it completely, they don't want you to be moving backwards when you engineer your ship, right? So an upgrade should always feel like an upgrade. Just quoting the developers here, is what they're stating. But if it is too upgraded, will there be a maximum cap? As to, my ship is 100%. His ship is 100%, but then there's a little difference in between that where I can take advantage over him. Of course, that would come with the piloting skills, right? But then if that is the case, then if somebody is at 50% and somebody is at 100%, it will be much harder for you to go up against them, of course, right? So the experimental effects, in quote, will no longer be random. This can be applied by spending material, and this is quite a keynote to look at as well. They will have a maximum cap, as they're saying. Currently it's 100 per material stored, right? So looking forward to having more material stored on my ship with all of them. They will look at increasing or decreasing the numbers, but again, they're saying that it is less likely for it to be decreased, right? But there's not more likely for it to be increased. So again, once beta drops, we'll be taking a closer look at the different changes that has been done. Now, they're putting the upgrades in your hands fully, so your choice is what you choose. You look at the different ones and to choose which one you prefer. Now, there has been new experimental effects that were shown off tonight. So again, you can go ahead, take a look in the video. I got a bit of screenshots where I could pause the video to read which ones they were and which ones I'll be interested in the upcoming update. Now, together with remote engineering at start ports that has outfitting. So if there's no outfitting, of course, remote engineering will not be enabled in this case, right? I would guess that they would also show once you click on a starport that, you know, facilities that are disabled, more than likely lockdown changes will affect anarchist system that have outfitting will also be affected by remote engineering. So again, we will have to be testing these out to see exactly how they're gonna play out. I know that this is a community engaged beta, so I might be coming up with a few commanders and seeing if we could actually put a system into lockdown and see exactly how these affects the new changes to material trader, the what was the next name of the other one, the tech broker, right? So we will definitely be testing that out. Now the remote engineering are not the engineers themselves, right? That is a keynote to understand. These are persons left behind by engineers with instructions, but the remote engineer can only be done on pinned blueprints, right? So don't think that you're gonna engineer everything that was there. So you gotta currently pin a blueprint from the engineer, and you can carry it around with you as you fill the materials up, but you have to go back to the engineer themselves to put on the experimental effects, as you can buy them now. Right now, the material trader is quite a significant thing. Of course, we would definitely have to be testing them out. That it doesn't necessarily mean we have to spend a lot of materials to switch over, but they do showcase some materials that you can trade from basic up to intermediate up to the final level, and each material now grows in a tier, right? Again, in the video there will be a lot to see. Now this allows players to trade one material for another in a single trade, right? Only one trade at a time can be completed. Material trader operates on a true barter system. There are no credits involved. Each trader type only available in their type of materials and can be found in different economies, right? So there are different types of material traders. Location material traders can be found are rare material trader, manufacturer materials trader, encoded materials trader, and the systems also need to be mid to high security and have population between 1 million up to 22 million to have materials traders. The traders will not show up in lawless or anarchist systems, so then again crime and punishment there chipping in. Traders will not show up at a station currently controlled by criminal factions, right? The traders will be unavailable when a system is damaged or under repair. So this are put on lockdown. There we go. The confirming information right there. So we will see those systems that are in lockdown, damaged stations, or under repair. Most persons would actually want to go and repair them now, right? So again, these are things we'll be flying around and testing in the beta just to make sure that they're working properly. Now, horizons is required for the materials trader, right? Now, materials traders can be found using the new by service view configuration option. It is limited to 40 light year range and only show traders that you have discovered, right? So again, exploration is another key feature that they're making sure to focus on, right? Materials traders will appear in Human Bubble, Colonia, and the Pleiades region at economical types listed above. Now, the information is all there for us to take in, right? And sitting around and just reading this is all fine and dandy, but is going to be a key feature for us to head out there, discover them, and actually engage, right? And most persons are saying they're getting a bit bored of the game. Flying around is not as enticing, blowing up ships, but now you have things to do, especially when it comes to engineering. So focusing on the materials trader is to allow players to trade rare items to obtain by gameplay, right? They do not want to take part in, of course, killing traders. These are clean ships that fly around, so committing crime to receive certain items that are unavailable unless you do this. Of course, in anarchist systems, you can fly around and hunt traders there with a little to no cost to you as a crime, but the murder crime is also being updated, right? So, as well as converting stockpiles of unwanted materials to ones that the players needs. So if you're getting stuck looking for engineering items, especially those, right, they will no longer be necessary for you to go and literally murder if you don't want to take part in those activities. But of course, again, the name Elite Dangerous, right? So moving on, Galnet Audio is at a simple click of a button. They show off the new UI changes. It was on the bottom right hand corner of the UI panel, and you can add things to a queue similar to how you play your music now. You just add them one below the other, or you can remove them from the queue. You can empty the queue, and of course, the key feature that I think the Galnet Audio supports is multi-language. So all the languages that Elite Dangerous support currently will be available in Galnet Audio. So if you are a Spanish speaker watching this channel or this live stream currently, if Elite Dangerous supports Spanish, it will be included. So it will be a nice view in your own language, which is quite awesome, right? So all you have to do is select the play button, bottom right hand corner of the cockpit, to play the headlines of the news stories. Now, if you're looking for specific stories or you want to create your own playlist, handpicked news, you can do so by opening the Galnet from the same panel. So this is available from your ship, not just in the starport, right? So I don't think that they'll fade it from the starport, right? So the Galnet news will fade in and out depending on the situation, and stop altogether in some key situations. Of course, we'll have to find out what those situations are, more than likely if you're taking fire, right? In some cases, such as counting down to hyperspace jumps, the news will pause and then resume once the countdown is complete. The stories or playlist will continue from where you left off. Right, so this is quite interesting, not needing to sit around reading that block of news right there. Now, Kovas is one of the things that they did not say that they're going to talk about, but they spoke about, right? Is to change the voice of your ship. So, the first one is Victor, ready at the launch of Chapter 1 of Beyound, right? Commanders will be able to change their Kovas at the Starport Service Larvae customization section, right? It is possible to also change the Kovas for your SRV2. You will need to head over to the SRV customization bay to change your preferences. Now, the Frontier will be working in partnership with the HCS to bring you new Kovas pack in the future. These voices are intended to bring a new flavor to commanders out in the black. However, it is important to note at the current time, we do not intend to introduce celebrity voice box. So it's not to say that they don't want to, but just not right now. Celebrity is the keyword. So again, with the beta coming up, we're going to be focusing on the information that they've pushed out with the focus feedback forums. I'll be taking part in there, so you can look around for my name if possible. And I guess maybe they'll be putting out a poll as to which celebrity we want to hear first, which is quite interesting. As in the video, someone was asking about making Chuck Norris into an engineer, and he has an interesting comment about it. So I'll prefer for you to go ahead and look at that for yourself. Now, this brings us to the end of our recap for what is coming in the beta, what we're going to be testing out on the 23rd of January. Sorry, 25th of January for the live stream that I'll be taking part in. Now, a schedule will be posted on my Facebook page, the Twitch feed, and also I will be scheduling each one of my live stream for YouTube up and coming. So you can look forward to those as I change the information around. Thank you guys again for joining me tonight, and look forward to seeing you either in the private groups or heading out into the block. Fly safe, commanders, and good night.